Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Money management is essential whether you're juggling debt or your household costs. But creating a financial plan is the first step towards achieving all your objectives, and that's why we're here to help you do that. Hello and welcome to NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. I'm your host Gautam Srinivasan, and today we're visiting the corporate headquarters of one of the largest coal producers in the world here in Kolkata, and the company is Coal India.
With the government taking over private coal mines, Coal India Limited came into being in 1975 as an organized state-owned coal mining organization. And since then, Coal India has emerged as a global player in the primary energy sector of our country. NSE FinWiz, with its theme, Dream On, engaged with the employees of Coal India in Kolkata to understand their notions on financial planning and educate them to plan their finances better.
So I'm really grateful to CNBC that you are conducting this event you have organized here in our campus, and you will be discussing, deliberating the subject with our young executives. And as I have learned, some very, learned faculties are coming here to address our young executives. I'm really sure that this event will really prove to be very useful for our young executives and in turn for the Coal India as a whole.
Financial literacy is basically making informed decisions about money management, and it's important for young employees like us because we have a lot of money at our disposal right now because we have not much of those liabilities, and also we get carried away in buying things which we don't need actually.
My perspective on financial literacy is that it should help an individual make a most efficient utilization of his or her money, so that the money requirements for different stages of life is met with.
Welcome to NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18, where we talk about financial planning and wealth creation and the various topics associated with that. Today's topic of discussion is systematic investment plans, or SIPs, and to share more insights on that topic, we have two experts on personal finance and wealth creation, Harshvardhan Rungta and Tanveer Alam, joining us to share their expert views on what can be done with SIPs, what are SIPs, what are its benefits, and of course how it can help you build your portfolio. And we are at the offices of Coal India with the professionals here. Of course, they'll be asking their questions to the experts as well to understand how SIPs work. So let's dive right in. Harshvardhan, give us a primer about the benefits of SIPs to the folks who are here at Coal India listening to you. What are the core benefits, and how exactly do you measure returns when it comes to SIPs?
To begin with, SIP is not a product in itself. It's just a method using which you will invest in a particular product. Now, SIPs, they are essentially the automatic way of investing. So you don't have to, particularly put any effort in drawing a check every month to make an investment. You can set up an automated ECS.
And any formula basis which you can determine, the right amount to invest via SIPs basis the earnings that
Absolutely. So one is the convenience. It is very easy for a person to simply set up an automated system of investment. Now the second question is, why would you still do an SIP? Assuming a situation that you still had money with you, you had a lump sum amount with you, you've just got a bonus for yourself, so that has come into you as a lump sum. Should you still opt for investing directly and lump sum together into the markets? Now, assuming you're investing into an equity product. In case you're choosing equity as an asset class, you really do not want to enter the market with your entire sum at one go, because you do not know which side the markets will go. So what you will do, you will stagger this to get the benefit of rupee cost averaging. So you would, in that case, also you could choose an SIP. So the another advantage of doing an SIP is that you keep investing at every level in the market. So the probability of you incurring a loss keeps reducing by the number of installments that you are investing by. Now coming to the question of how much should a person invest? Okay, typically you should target from your first salary. This is I'm saying in case you're very young, you're in the age bracket of say 25 to 30 years, you should make sure that you at least save a 20% of your income. Now, when your income goes up, that also has to be, the 20% has to go up along with the rise in income. You cannot just have 20% of your first income and live the rest of your life in that. That's not the idea.
All right. Now, Harshvardhan has given us a broad primer about how SIPs operate and why they are a great investment tool. Now, when it comes to measuring its return versus other asset yields, the problem is investors focus on the absolute rate of return versus the internal rate of return. So, how do you measure returns via SIPs?
See, SIP is a sure shot method of creating wealth over a long term period. Okay, and it works on certain fundamental rules of investment, and that's called power of compounding. So the power of compounding does not efficiently work for a period less than 5 years. It actually works like magic if you extend over a long term period, for a period of say 10, 20 years. Okay, so inevitably, if you are mapping some long term goals such as retirement or children education or buying a property at a later stage or what a children's marriage, and if you choose those time horizon, you will be surprised by the quantum or the quantum of wealth creation that happens.
SIPs as a concept are great because it helps you stagger investment. But if you are starting out and when you notice the markets are at a high, there is a certain reticence about this autopilot mode of investment.
Nobody really knows which side the market is going to go. So the idea is it's not possible. The question is, how do I still benefit out of a fact that I don't know which side markets are going to go? And that is the reason you do an SIP. Why? Because if you invest today, there is a portion of your money which has been invested today. If you do because it's an SIP and the next installment will go in the next month, whatever the market level may be at that point in time, again you're investing. So like this, you invest at every level every month.
All right. And how do you customize SIPs to meet one's goal? As in, if you could give a sort of a primer to the audience here as to how to go about it.
If you're investing in an equity market for a period of 1 year, there is only a 65% probability of making money. If you extend the time horizon to 3 years, the probability increases to approximately 78%. On a 5-year, 85% of the time you'll make money. On a 10-year basis, 100% of the time you will make money. There's only one instance when you have actually would not have made money. So when you're coming to long-term investment, choose an equity fund. Now, if you have less than 5 years, say 1 year, you can choose between a liquid fund or a short-term fund. Okay, there the objective is not to create wealth. The objective is to ensure that you protect your hard-earned money and at best get a better post-tax return when compared to a fixed deposit.
On that note, we'll take a short break, but on the other side, lots more to discuss about financial planning and wealth creation here on CNBC TV 18. Welcome back. You're watching NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18, and we have been discussing SIPs or systematic investment plans with the experts and, of course, the audience of working professionals here at Coal India. So let's dive right back in. Harshvardhan, dispel myths around stopping SIPs or pausing SIPs. You know, a lot of people have this worry that what happens if I, due to certain exigent reasons, I need to stop for some time. Is there a penalty, exit load that will be applied? Dispel some of the myths around that for the audience here.
Yeah, so the first thing is when you start an SIP with a commitment of say 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, it does not bind you to invest for the entire period. It is just an instruction that you're giving to the fund house to be able to debit up to that age. Now, say suppose you started an SIP and after 6 months, there has been some financial changes in your life. There are certain commitments or there is a switch in job and there is a break in between. You can go back to the fund house and tell them simply that please stop my SIP or pause my SIP for the X number of months. Now what happens in that case is the debits will not take place in your account and there would not be any penalty of that sort because it's not a loan EMI that you're repaying. Okay, there is no penalty. It is an investment that you're doing and it is at your free will. So please feel free to go back to the fund house and tell them that I want to either stop my SIP or there is a facility of pausing it for a couple of months. And whatever you've invested until then continues to be invested and generate the returns that it is already doing.
Shifting focus to taxes, could you give us some use cases about any confusion that arises in people's minds when it comes to figuring out their taxes when they use SIPs, because measuring it also is an issue for them?
Yeah, especially if it's a fund, either a balance fund or an equity fund. If you invest for a period of more than 1 year, it becomes tax free. So, but each installment over a period of 1 year will become tax free to you. So so you always, your last 12 months of investment will have a short term capital gain. Suppose if you're redeeming or if you're coming out of the entire amount. Okay, that is the thing. So now, having said that, but if you're choosing a tax saving fund has a minimum lock in period of 3 years. So each of your, and if you're doing SIP and a tax saving fund, please remember that each installment will get locked for 3 years. Okay, and you can withdraw partially or after that period cools down.
All right. Now, there's also the SIP versus the EMI debate, which you read about. Now, what's the time period that investors should take into account? If suppose somebody has those two options and they're wondering what to do, what would you say to that?
In case of an SIP, you're getting the benefit of power of compounding. Okay, wherein you're investing and you're going to generate returns over it. In EMI, the lender is getting the power of compounding, wherein you're going to pay that back with interest. So, if you look at the total EMIs that you've paid over a period of say 20 years, to the cost of the property, it will be more than 100%. Like for example, if you've taken a loan for 10 lakhs and paid it over a period of 20 years, invariably you've paid 26 lakhs. So 16 lakhs will be the interest and 10 lakhs will be the original amount. So basically you're paying this. On the other hand, had you invested this, you would have been gaining that 16 lakhs in that context. So the idea is EMI an investment? I would not suggest so. I wouldn't say to look at EMI as an investment. No, it is not.
All right. Now let's go to the audience. So the first name I'll be calling out is Antara Chakrabarti.
A lot has already been spoken about how you should manage your SIP and when to enter, when not to enter. But I have a confusion. How to manage the portfolios like equity fund, balanced fund? How to manage that?
Pick a fund that best suits your time horizon of investment. For example, if you're looking at a goal which is 10 years down the line, you can safely choose an equity fund. You will not be disappointed and you will be very happy with the return that is generated. If you have a goal which is coming in 3 years down the line, choosing an equity fund can be extremely fatal. All you do is choose a fund which could be like an MIP product, or nowadays it's called equity savings product. You can choose that kind of a product. You will be very happy. So that is exactly important. So identify the time horizon. If it's long term, go for equity fund. And if your first time you're not taking risk, you're a little risk averse, you're scared, then go with a balanced fund.
All right. Now the next audience member I will be calling out is Rishabh Agarwal.
How much percentage should one save in SIP? And what is the motivation to keep saving for such a long time, the same amount?
So you create a own benchmark. Okay, I want to create so much of wealth. Okay, till that wealth, you keep putting in SIP. Automatically, the return that you generate over the period of time will be motivating enough to put another bar. Your second question was how much allocation you should do. I would ideally say, because of the increased consumerism and the sprawling malls that you see, people are consuming more. So ideally, anything below 25% I think would not be advisable.
Moving on to the next question.
I am confused between two strategies of investment, which includes the risk cover also. One is that I invest separately in equity funds and take a term insurance. And other is that I invest in ULIP, which is also market linked, and spare some amount for equity funds. So how can I allocate my funds in both the schemes, and which strategy is better one?
Try and segregate both your requirements. Keep investments as pure investments, and you have several options like your mutual funds, you have PPFs, and you have all that bit, and take a term plan for insurance requirements. Do not mix both. Now, when you choose a ULIP, you are stuck with one fund manager. Irrespective of how the fund performs, you will only switch between the categories. From equity, you may come to a balance to debt. In case of a mutual fund, if you are not satisfied with a fund house, you can always move to another fund house, which you cannot do in case of a ULIP. Now, what a ULIP offers you is a life cover and investments. Now, if you have a term plan and investment segregated, the flexibility is far more. So, why would you want to restrict yourself into a combined product when you can create the same in a more flexible manner and more efficiently in two separate products?
All right, on that note, we'll take another short break. When we return, the professionals here at Coal India will get to ask their questions to the experts. The floor is open to them. Meanwhile, stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Welcome back. You're watching NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. We have been discussing systematic investment plans and the role they play in wealth creation. Well, the floor is now open to the professionals here at Coal India to ask any questions that they have to the experts.
My question is, how do you ideally balance between short-term and long-term investments? What are the factors you take into account that when you invest and see like you want to have a certain amount of money left for like emergency and like certain amount of money you want to invest for long-term? So how do you ideally balance that?
When it comes to emergency fund, ideal situation is you should have at least 6 months of your monthly salary in the emergency account. Okay, it could be a savings bank account, it could be even a liquid fund account of a mutual fund, which you can get access anytime. Now, mutual fund allows redemption, means you can get your money back within 30 minutes if you want to redeem up to a 50,000 rupees a month. So that is the minimum amount of emergency that you should have. All goals that are rising less than 5 years, I am repeating, are your short-term goals or medium-term goals. Goals above 5 to 10 years are medium-term and 10 and above are long-term goals. So that is how you segregate the bucket and choose the fund best suits them.
All right, if we can have the lady here asking a question.
Recently, I want to invest in a flat. I want to purchase a flat, and it will be my immediate investment. So I'm confused whether to take the EMI for the bank for a short term or for a long term. Maybe I'm planning for 15 years. So will it be beneficial for 15 years or to extend it up to 25 years?
See, basically your EMI component should never exceed more than 40% of your net earning. The moment it exceeds more than 40%, that starts hurting your livelihood and your lifestyle. So if you can afford anything below 40% and for a shortest distance that time you can take, then by all means take. But don't cut the time horizon and also affect your current lifestyle. So just ensure that your EMI is below that 33% or 30% bracket. That's a good bracket to keep in.
We have time for one more question.
What would be my first step? Whom do I register with? Who are the fund managers, various fund managers, or the platforms in which I can invest?
The idea is, at first, identify what you want yourself. It's very simple exercise. Just take a piece of paper, see what your income is, then decide how much do you want to save, not how much you're left with, because there could be a possibility that you're spending enough.
That's in most cases.
Yeah, so you're spending enough and you have nothing left. So begin with a reverse calculation saying that I want to invest 20% of my income. So now you'll come down to one particular exercise and a particular number. Then the first step, as we already spoke about, is how do you get a good financial planner? Okay, so you could have somebody, in your colleagues or your friends or relatives who must be already consulting somebody. I'm sure there must be somebody in the family. So just make sure the credentials are in place. Then have a conversation. That's a starting point. You are net savvy, you can start doing some bit of initial research, but don't make that your final report. Okay, you can do just initial research as to what all should you do. So this talk today that we had would be one way to just broaden your horizon as to what you should be looking at. And of course, you need hand holding. So look at the right professional who can guide you through that. It's not really a process of registering. Registering is at the time of execution. At this juncture, if you want to just discuss with somebody who is a professional in this field, you should just start going about it.
What if I am really convinced that I want to go with the large caps and I want to register so that I just can start with the investment?
So basically, all I have to do is fund your KYC done. It's very important today.
Okay, KYC and DMAT.
Yes, not DMAT. You don't need a DMAT account for mutual fund. And pick a fund that is best. What I'll use for simplicity's sake, if you're finding it difficult to find which is the best fund. See, all you need is a fund manager which is passed through various market cycles. Okay, when good times and bad times. In good times, everybody can generate return. It's in bad time, if you can protect your group wealth, is also important. Choose a fund which has passed through many market cycles and done well. So that could be one simple filter you could use to pick a fund, do your KYC and start investing.
All right, on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. The topic of discussion has been systematic investment plans, and I'd like to thank the experts for sharing their insights on the topic, and of course the professionals here at Coal India. And to the viewers watching at home, I hope you have learned important lessons on the topic of financial planning and wealth creation. We'll be back with another episode and another company. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18.
Today's session was really very informative. It was amazing. And actually, I had a lot of confusion before regarding mutual funds and all. But after this session, I actually am very clear now. And I myself will invest in mutual funds. And there isn't any part that was left unanswered by our experts. I am really thankful to CNBC TV 18 and its team for organizing this session.
The takeaway from today's session was that we have to be consistent in our mutual fund investments so that it gives us good return in the long term.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.